I'm a little tired. Shiro gets up early, so I got up early.
Man, I didn't force you to come right away. I just told you, hey, I'm ready.
Yeah, part of me also, I have lots of house stuff to do, so more time later. Just so you know, I'm not gonna take sides.
Then why are you here with us?
Message received, loud and clear. Good, because I don't like this one bit, and Daddy should be on the same team. Sorry, Trucy. Wow, she's really mad.
Ooh, the music.
Yep.
I'm sorry too, little lady. This is all my fault.
I'm just worried things will never be the same between Daddy and Apollo.
It'll be fine.
If they go through with this.
Is that all? Well, I wouldn't worry about that. That's the way it is with us men. We may fight, but we don't burn bridges.
Really?
Sure, 1 minute we're trading blows, and the next we're having drinks together. We simply creatures at heart.
I sure hope you're right. Oh man. I wasn't ready to see her, so you're right there. Sorry I'm late, Apollo. Athena, then you are. What happened with you and Mr. Wright yesterday?
Where did she go yesterday? That's something I forgot about. Like, she just disappeared.
That's why I wasn't ready to see her. Oh, about that. I ended up going to the wrong airport. I was waiting there thinking his flight was really late, and before I knew it, I dozed off. By the time I woke up, it was already dark. Oh my god, Athena. I figured something like that had happened. Being late and dozing off are two things you do best. Guilty as charged. So then, I take it you have no idea what today's case is about. Not a clue, sorry. Oh, she's in for it too.
Oh dear.
What is today's case about, I might ask? Another locked room mystery? A suspect with a flimsy alibi? Ooh, a dying message. Sorry, strike 3, you're out. It's a civil case. A civil case? Yeah, you act like I'm speaking Swahili here.
Did she think we're only about murder cases? Like,
that's all we've done, though. That's all she knows.
yeah, that's all she's done. But Phoenix has done a larceny case before.
True.
Which turned into a murder case, but I digress.
It's just the Right Anything Agency specializes in criminal law. Or so I thought. In civil cases, there are no prosecutors, right? Instead, both parties retain an attorney. Right, and the other attorney is someone you know very well. Really? Who? Don't tell her.
The trial will begin shortly. Please proceed to the courtroom at once.
Okay, let's do this.
Apollo's just like, just come along, Athena. You'll see who the other attorney is.
Apollo, wait, who's the other attorney? And where is Mr. Wright? I feel like we're going to be doing a mood matrix on the boy in the room.
Yeah, 100%.
No trying to explain. Let's go. Okay, right behind you.
Athena's going to be in for a treat here.
I feel like Athena might switch sides every now and then. You know. Court is now in session. Oh. Is there some sort of practice session?
Does the judge not know this is a civil case? What's happening? What is happening here?
A mock trial, perhaps? No, it's not, Your Honor.
It's the real deal, Your Honor.
So then you two have had a falling out? I won't have you using my courtroom for that, you know?
Does the judge not get told about these cases beforehand? Like, what's going on here?
You have to wonder how much he does in a day. Right? So he just hops from one case to another. It's nothing like that, Your Honor.
Exactly. It just so happens that we have different clients in this case.
I see. Well, here's hoping this has no adverse effect on your working relationship. You can say that again. I had no idea we'd be going up against the boss today. You sure this is a good idea, Apollo? What? Do you want to switch sides? Honestly, I'd rather be anywhere but here right now.
Bye!
Well, at least she is here. I'm really going to need her help.
Mr. Justice,
Yes?
don't expect me to pull any punches just because you're the opposing lawyer. As I said, the kid gloves are off. And come what may, they'll stay off.
Ooh. Same here, Mr. Wright. If it's a fight you want, it's a fight you'll get. Oh, the music. Music too good.
For the final cases in these games, they always go off for the music. They just do remixes like, all right, let's do this.
Yeesh, you guys are really chomping at the bit, aren't you? I don't mind a good fight between coworkers. Just keep this civil case civil. Now then, if a plaintiff would take the stand, we may begin.
Left, right, halt. Noble judge, members of the gallery, good day to you. I am politician. This is but the start of my epic campaign, and you have all the honors of witnessing it. I believe the youth of this country is our very future. Too long have they been looked down on and given the cold shoulder. And so to them I say, ask not what you can do for your country. Ask what you can...
Mr. Raptician, what a crazy contraption are you riding in?
This is my custom-made election-winning campaign mobile. Beautiful, isn't it?
You're a witness at stand, not a campaign podium. So, come out of there this instant.
So we're actually going to get a standing model of... Oh, good... Oh, good grief.
All right, now with the plaintiff's attorney, Mr. Wright. Please explain the complaint filed against the defendant.
Mr. Titian's complaint against the defendant is simple. The defendant, one Dirk Sadmati, stole my client's family heirloom, the crystal of Ami Faye. Mr. Titian merely seeks its return. This wouldn't have happened if the archaeologist hadn't kicked the bucket.
I see. Well, Mr. Justice, let's have your opening statement, if you would. The defense asserts the item in question is the Founder's Orb, a sacred relic from Kurai. Go on. It seems someone asked an archaeologist, Dr. R.T. Buff, to study the orb. Dr. Buff determined that it was Kurai's national treasure known as the Founder's Orb. Wouldn't he have a bunch of notes on that? The very orb that was stolen from a treasure room in Kurai several weeks ago.
Yeah, you'd think that there would be like some documentation somewhere, like of him, like showing that it is the Founder's Orb. But as we suspect, they're both one and the same. There's just different names for the same object.
Yep. Well, yes, I saw a news report about that. The theft of Kurani's national treasure caused quite an uproar in the kingdom. Well, we believe that it was not, in fact, a theft in the traditional sense. but rather that it was spirited out of Karine by someone for Dr. Buff to study. You don't say. And? Around that time, an acquaintance of the defendant learned of Dr. Buff. He made contract with the doctor, who agreed to hand over the orb. Apparently, the doctor wanted nothing to do with it once he learned it had been stolen. It seems you even have a transfer agreement between both parties.
And I'm sure Phoenix is easily going to point out, hey, harm came to the doctor. This agreement's null and void.
It could also be penciled in, you never know. Mr. Sadmati also agreed to the Founder's Orb of the Kingdom of Karine. Once the doctor verified it was a real thing. I see, so the dispute centers on whether the item in question is the Founder's Orb or the Crystal of Ami Faye. That, in turn, will determine the object's rightful owner. I better bring my A game. Going up against Mr. Wright will be a walk in the park. Come to think of it, the name Dirk Sadmati sounds awfully familiar.
No, it doesn't. Nope, not at all.
Could be it.
Nope, not familiar.
But I can't recall where I've heard it. Oh, it's probably your imagination, Your Honor. He's just a tourist after all. My imagination, you say? Are you sure about this, Apollo? He's a wanted criminal in Karine.
Shut up, Athena! Shut up! Also, how does Athena know who Dirk is? She hadn't met him yet.
She probably got the summary. In Karine, yes. Here, just a tourist. Very well, let's begin the proceedings. Bailiff, would you bring the first witness? Huh?
What? What's Emma doing here?
Why do we get such a feet picture of her? Emma? Show some manners. We're in court. I know, it's just... This is a civil trial, so I was surprised to see a detective take the stand.
I had her do some digging on Dr. Buff.
What for? You disappoint me, Apollo. First, you know I'm not just a detective. I'm a forensic scientist. Do try to remember that. Second, you owe Mr. Wright an apology. After all he's done for you, you have some nerve.
Apology for what?
First, I'm sorry. And second, I'm really just trying to do my job. You'll never get anywhere with that attitude. Take some advice from someone who's been there. Why do I feel like I'm on trial here?
You're always on trial, Apollo.
Detective Sky, your testimony, if you please.
So where's this gonna go?
The police have had their eyes on Dr. Buff for some time. And just today, a number of stolen artifacts were discovered in his study. Among them were a priceless urn and a statue that was stolen from the Fae clan. True. It seems the doctor would do anything to study artifacts, including steal them. As for the relic at the center of this dispute, he likely stole it from the Addison residence.
Prove it. All right, we're definitely pressing that last one. She needs to be able to verify how he stole it from them.
Yep. The doctor is a thief? Why am I just hearing about this now? Well, cat burglar isn't something he'd put on his resume. He was more careful than that. But the fact is, he was a classic treasure hunter. A treasure hunter, huh? Like people who have thrilling adventures in exotic places, risking life and limb for glory.
But there's no way he could have stolen the orb, though. The Founder's Orb.
I know Dr. Buff was the star of his own hit movie series, Athena.
Out of respect for the dead, I will say that Dr. Buff wasn't doing it to get rich. Apparently, he only wanted to borrow artifacts to study them. He would return them as soon as his research was finished.
According to the doctor's child, he would even repair or restore some of the artifacts he stole before returning them. He believed he was honoring the dead by discovering their history through artifacts. But whatever lofty ideals he had, it makes no difference. Larceny is larceny. Yes, he certainly sounds no different from a regular thief to me. So let's say for a moment that the doctor really did like stealing artifacts. Might he not have stolen the Founder's Orb in Karine and brought it back here himself?
Nope. There's no record of him traveling overseas over the past few years. Plus, he couldn't very well leave his reclusive child at home all alone. He could have someone steal it for him.
Then this really must be the Crystal of Ami Fae.
Yes, he stole it from the Etician residence, probably so he could study it.
This is the left hook I did not need. I bet you never saw that coming, Apollo. Yeah, when Mr. Wright said the kid gloves were off, he wasn't kidding. Mr. Justice, you may proceed with your cross-examination. Wouldn't Phoenix get one too?
Well, Phoenix summoned this witness, so...
True.
I wonder if at some point in the trial, like, Apollo's gonna summon a witness, and then we play as Phoenix to cross-examine them.
I don't know.
That'd be interesting to see. Oh. Okay, I want to go to the last statement. I want to see them be able to verify this.
You claim he stole a family heirloom from the Etician residence. But claiming something doesn't make it true. Unfortunately, it is true. How can you be so sure? A police was filed concerning the theft 1 year ago, in fact.
Really?
What? A whole year ago.
And they just now supposedly found it? I don't buy it.
Me neither. August 25th of last year, to be exact, the report states, and I quote, "The Crystal of Ami Fae was discovered to be missing. From the Etician residence storehouse at 10 a.m., the storehouse lock had been picked. Signed, Politician Wimperson." That still doesn't prove it.
Does he have a picture of it?
Well, a year-old report certainly lends the plaintiff's claim credence. The doctor really could have stolen the Crystal of Ami Fae.
Not only that, Your Honor, but the Founder's Orb was only found to be missing several weeks ago. That is nearly a year after the crystal theft was reported. Therefore, I believe we must consider the orb and the crystal to be two separate items. I don't think so.
Sweating though. Politician Wimperson. Not the most awe-inspiring tail end. I see why he cut it. Not the help that inspires confident without it. Still, I'd probably do the same in his shoes. All right, let's check it out.
Crystal Ami Fae was discovered to be missing from the Etician storehouse at 10 a.m. The storehouse lock had been picked. Okay.
How did that help us? A police report was filed about the crystal theft a year ago. But the theft of the Founder's Orb was only reported a few weeks ago.
Wrong voice.
Oh, but the theft of the Founder's Orb was only reported a few weeks ago. So, the Crystal Police report was filed way before the orb was found missing. That suggests the stolen relic is the Crystal of Ami Fae, as Mr. Etician Wimperson asserts. I doubt the police report is a fake. After all, Emma is the one who submitted it as evidence. Still, I feel like something we learned in that police report is important somehow.
Probably the name is going to become important at some point.
Hold it!
How exactly did Dr. Buff arouse the suspicion of the police anyways? Chalk it up to good old-fashioned sleuthing. After investigating countless artifact thefts over the past few years, the police finally zeroed in on him, and the doctor became their prime suspect.
A number of those artifact thefts occurred in Karine Village, too, I might add. And they started right around the time the doctor moved there.
But he was never arrested. I take it there was nothing concrete linking him to a crime? No, which is why we were never able to get a search warrant in the first place. It's hard to arrest artifact thieves unless you catch them red-handed. Still, the police had him under constant surveillance. Okay. And just an end. Are you sure these allegedly stolen artifacts are the real deal? They're not fakes, that's for sure. Take the urn, for example. Apparently, it's an extremely intricate work of art. Its design, cracks, and other features would be impossible to replicate perfectly.
Actually, I've had a few run-ins with that urn myself. I was shocked to see it there when in the doctor's study. You can say without a doubt, that urn was stolen from the Fae clan.
Yep, we have to agree to that. I see. Detective Sky, please continue with your testimony if you would.
Hold it!
Were any other stolen artifacts found besides those belonging to the Faes? Yes, for instance. Remember the large relief on the wall? The coffee one? It was chiseled out of some ancient ruins in the kingdom of Karine several years ago.
Just talk about the thing on the wall up there.
Ah. Chiseled out?
That sounds like it would take way more work than like any thief could do. Also, it's from Karine. Do we want to talk about that? From he has something from Karine.
Yeah.
So it's not all from the village. And how do you get that home? Like that has to be planned. Like so you have to have some way to fly it back.
Didn't that damage it? Well, he did restore the parts that were so faded you could barely see them anymore. It seems he intended to return it someday. So one could say his intentions were good. But good intentions are no get-out-of-jail-free card. That's a fact.
If I might add, with respect for the deceased, the quality of the restoration was apparently exceptional. Seems the doctor invested a lot of money and hired an extremely talented specialist. Is it Vera?
He sounds like a good man who took a wrong turn somewhere.
Are they talking about Vera there?
I wonder. I guess Sarge takes after him in that way. Any further questions? If not...
Hold it!
Have these alleged thefts been going on for some time? At least 5 years, as far as we can tell. All the recent thefts have been local. But before moving to Karine Village, he had been stealing from ruins around the world. Dr. Buff was an international criminal. This data lends itself but one conclusion. Dr. Buff was a thief.
Okay, so there might be a contradiction somewhere because we've pressed everything.
Okay. So let's go back to the part where she mentions the chiseled statue, maybe? Statue stolen from the Fae clan.
So that's referring to the Ami statue we saw.
Yeah. If we could reference the big thing in the back, we could say he could have gotten it from Karine.
See, the thing is, none of the statements changed.
None of them did. We couldn't add anything.
So let's repress this one in case something did change. Oh, it did change.
Yeah, this police report may say the crystal of Ami Fade, but how do you know this relic? It's this relic right here. Because Mr. Attition has stated as much.
That's not
Oh,
proof. That's not proof, Emma. Like I can go somewhere like, hey, you see this right here? I have a jar of pepper. This is salt. Hey, look, I have pepper, so that means this must be pepper, right? Salt. And yes, I have a thing of salt on my desk. What of it?
Well, I'm not buying it. Apollo, I was thinking. The plaintiff's legal name is pretty distinctive. Paul Attition Wimperson. Do we have any evidence related to his initials or his name?
Hello there.
Oh, snap!
Oh no! How did we miss that?
To be fair, we didn't know about the W until, like, the courtroom started.
But we didn't even, I don't even think we even discussed the 2 part there.
We just might. It might even point out a flaw in something Emma said. You think her logic's faulty? Yeah, the doctor stole the relic from Mr. Attition. Or Attition Wimperson. And there's one thing the doctor did that doesn't make any sense.
So the email will prove that it's not a theft because Dr. Buff was talking directly to Paul about it. Like, hold on, I'm gonna look at this again.
Yeah. I deciphered the patterns, but I have yet to conclude that the opaque crystal orb is the key.
Yeah.
Especially if politician Wimperson was desperately searching for his stolen relic. Okay, time to go over the evidence again. A police report was filed about the crystal theft a year ago. I think it's the same. But the theft of the Founder's Orb was only reported. Yeah, it's the same. Nope, this one. Save first.
Objection!
Oh, never mind.
We knew there's no way it wasn't that.
I was thinking it could have been the 4th last statement, and they would have. The doctor stole the relic from the plaintiff? Are you sure? Because that statement doesn't agree with certain piece of evidence. What do you mean? Take a look at this. What about it? This contains an email from the doctor's computer. Email? In that little piece of plastic? I'm afraid I don't understand.
You old man, shut up. No one's asking you for your opinions here.
Oh, this stick here can store all sorts of computer data. I still don't get it.
Okay, let's just move on then. Just listen. Hey, this information's on the on here. Let's just move on.
Here, just look at this. Apparently, the doctor was reporting his research findings to a certain individual. Now, take a look at this. It's the police report Detective Sky presented in this court. You can see the plaintiff's legal name on it. Paul Attition Wimperson. I can see why he dropped Wimperson from his name, but that's hardly breaking news. Look closer, Your Honor.
His initials!
It's kind of funny seeing that from the other end, I'm not gonna lie.
Phoenix is like, wait a minute.
Right. The plaintiff's full legal name is Paul Attition Wimperson. Now, consider this. The email's recipient address starts with 3 letters. PAW? Ah! Don't tell me. Oh, but I will anyways. The individual who hired the doctor to study the disputed item is none other than politician Wimperson. Wait, and that means...
It wasn't stolen.
Exactly, he wouldn't have asked the man who stole his family heirloom to study it. Therefore, how could this possibly be the crystal of Ami Faye? Ah! But that still means it's his.
Not necessarily.
We never checked the doctor's emails. Well, they should. We couldn't even figure out the password to his computer. The plaintiff willingly left the orb in the doctor's care so he could study it. At the behest of his benefactor. Wait. Then what about the police report? I have all the details of the theft right here. It's probably another relic. The real crystal of Ami Faye. He's just using the report as a way to claim that our orb is actually a stolen crystal.
Objection!
Still weird to hear that on the other end.
And how are you certain that PAW refers to my client's initials? Can we go look at his computer, see if he has this email? How about that? Maybe the email's recipient was a dog lover.
Perhaps. So let's get to know your client a little better, shall we? Mr. Politician Wimperson.
I suppose shutting down the detractors is all part of a politician's job.
Answer me this, Mr. Petition Wimperson. What is...
Your birthday, because there's that 7-Eleven in it.
Yeah. What is your birthday?
My
June 11th?
birthday
July
is
11th.
July 11th. But what is it to you? Oh, I see. You can address birthday gifts to my office. For full disclosure, I only accept gifts valued at $1,000 or more. Phoenix is like...
Phoenix just realized.
Phoenix is like, oh crap.
I don't think the judge knows.
Why has everyone gone silent?
How can anyone be that self-centered? Oh, right. Politicians. Did everyone hear that? He said July 11th. July 11th, or rather, 7-Eleven matches the numbers in the email address. Both the name and the birthday are a match. I hardly think that's a coincidence.
Wait. Why, you sneaky little...
Looks like someone finally decided to join the conversation. Would the plaintiff care to explain?
I would like to say that this is quite...
Quite what? Okay, this is slowly becoming my favorite trial.
quite a thing you've said.
Any other thoughts?
No further comments. I stand by my previous statement. Where are you going?
Just walk away. Even politicians have to explain themselves in a court of law. I didn't have to reread that.
Yeah, that was perfect. I love how he just picks up his name tag and like, bye.
Bye, have a good time.
I'm afraid I simply don't know how it happened. I can't possibly explain matters outside of my purview. Perhaps it was a mistake on the part of my secretary.
Oh, no, you don't, you slippery eel. Mr. Wright, would you care to respond?
I won't argue your assertion. My client lent the treasure in question to the doctor and asked him to study it. Then why the police report? It seems that much is a fact.
Now we're getting somewhere. But
However, it has no bearing on the issue of ownership.
that's kind of exactly what I meant when it says it could still be his. How so?
Mr. Rotition, I fully understand your position here. You had to hide the fact that you sent the crystal out to be studied. Your family would have been very upset if they had found out. It's a family heirloom after all.
You've got to be kidding
Now
me.
Phoenix is feeding the witness. Mr. Wright is, well, right of course. But then he always is. That's why he's my lawyer. The crystal is a precious Etition family heirloom and has been for centuries. But Dr. Buff was so eager to study its proud heritage, I just couldn't say no. What benefit does it have to you, though? I'd even tell my grandfather.
Objection!
But in order to win the backing of your so-called benefactor, you were going to give what you claim to be the crystal of Ami Faye to that person? You were going to give a precious family heirloom away, just like that?
I was going to explain everything to my grandfather later. Honest. Mackay's grandfather is very proud of his grandson for following in his footsteps. And if refusing him would have meant dashing the dreams of his darling grandson, I doubt the kindly old man could have said no.
Well, grandchildren are meant to be spoiled. That's what grandfathers are for. Your Honor, please, I mean, it's been in the family for centuries.
My grandfather thinks highly of my talents as a politician. That's why he entrusted me with this very important name placard here today. So a placard came from his grandfather. Wait, do we have Abe somewhere?
I think we do.
I don't see it anywhere. But it does feel familiar though.
Yep.
I'm sure it's just so it would have been okay with me using the crystal as I saw fit.
Grr, Grandpa's spoiled little brat. I think the judge is buying it, Apollo. No surprise there. He's always going on about his own grandchild after all. Excuse me, can I leave now, Mr. Wright? I believe my work here is done.
By all means, Detective Sky. Thank you for your assistance.
You're welcome. It's nice to testify at a civil trial once in a while. See you around. It seems the facts have changed somewhat. Mr. Retition Wimperson apparently lent his family heirloom to Dr. Buff.
And why would he report it stolen? And how does that explain all the subsequent events?
Mr. Justice, how would the defense like to proceed? Oh, all right. Now what? Apollo, let's hear what they know about the so-called crystal of Ami Faye. Maybe we can find some inconsistencies in their statements. Right. Okay then, Mr. Wright, if the item in question really is the Etition family heirloom, then let's hear all your client knows about it.
Of course. Mr. Titian Whipperson, please tell the defense everything you know about the crystal's origin. All right, now listen and learn. This is a crystal of Ami Faye and the illustrious history of the Etition clan. Are you ready? Our story begins back in the old country when the Etition family reigned supreme.
Can you change his voice when he's reading this to Excalibur? From
What?
Soul Eater. Cool. My story begins in the 5th century. You know, you never watched Soul Eater?
No.
Okay, never mind. You wouldn't know.
My ancestor was praised as a benevolent ruler. He protected spirit mediums, a minority back then, from the rest of the locals. Some discriminating against them, you see, while the others tried to abuse their power. And as thanks, Ame gave the crystal she had specially made as a gift to him. I am a descendant of the Great Lord. As such, my political power and influence is backed by centuries of history.
Well, that devolved into a great load of self-aggrandizing propaganda fast. We need to press. He needs to talk more about the orb itself.
As you can see, the crystal of Ame is an heirloom of the esteemed House of Attition.
And you have proof that it's always been in the Attition family.
Like, do they have a picture of it? Like, they have not, I don't think they presented a picture of it, like, or any means to prove that this is the exact thing. They're just like, oh, that's it. That's it. That's all they're given. I have someone who gave a statement to that effect. My client's neighbor, one Ivy Shinito, age 85.
I've Shinito.
I've seen a toe?
Wait, I've shin a toe.
I think it's seen, maybe? I've seen a toe?
I've seen the toe? I can see it. Age 85. Huh.
My client's neighbor, when I've seen a toe, age 85, gave the following statement. The Attition showed me the crystal back when I was but a lad.
Objection!
Can we really trust the memory of an old man?
Mr. Justice, would you care to explain that statement to the judge?
I didn't mean what I'm trying to say is.
Whoops.
Never underestimate the memory of your elders. I may forget my verdicts the next day, but the mention of my past are clear as day.
Oh boy.
Therefore, I find Mr. Ives Shinito's statement to be perfectly credible. That's gonna back it. Wow, did you see how Mr. Wright got the judge on his side? That's definitely a trick I want up my sleeve. You're not helping, Athena. You may cross-examine the witness, Mr. Justice. Oh, Lord. Why don't we get that 85-year-old statement?
Yeah, let's get that old man in here, huh?
Hold it!
That object you set down there, is it something of importance to you?
It's a name placard. This is one here belongs to my grandfather, Abraham Attition. He had it custom made during his distinguished political career.
But it says Abe.
Well, yeah, Abe is short for Abraham.
I know, but I feel like that might actually come into play.
It's special because it's crafted from the finest Italian plastic.
I wasn't aware that Italians were famous for their fine plastic.
As you can touch it if you want.
Nah, I'm fine.
No, let's investigate it. Very well, I'll just continue with my testimony. My ancestor was praised as a benevolent ruler, but he was also an eminent politician.
Hold it!
So I take it the relationship with the Fae clan was a close one.
A smooth and open line of communication with my entire electorate. That is the politician way.
Huh. Oh, sorry. I was asking about your ancestor.
Whether it's about me or my ancestor, feel free to ask me anything you'd like. Transparency in government, that's the politician way.
More like dodging questions, that's a politician way. Thanks, I'll be sure to ask when I have something to actually answer.
As I was saying, the Titian families protected the face spirit mediums back then.
Hold it!
Spirit mediums were targets of discrimination.
Yes, some people even treated them like they were monsters. A transformation of the mediums underwent when channeling spirits frightened the locals. And then there was those who tried to use them.
You mean they sought to control the channeling powers of the mediums?
Discriminating against the minority is absolutely despicable. A vote for me is a vote to end discrimination. I vow to root it out wherever it may be. That is my promise to you.
He's totally ignoring your questions. It's like you're a moderator in a political debate. Yeah, and only he cares about his talking points. As thrilling as your campaign is, could we please get back to your testimony?
As you wish. Now then, the Crystal of Ami Faye. Don't have much info on this.
Look at the Mitama motif, though. Look at that piece right there, and then the pattern on top of the crystal. It's the same on the bottom.
Yep. But is this the time we point that out?
Because how did she make it as a gift?
Objection!
Got him.
You stated that Ami Faye had the crystal made for your ancestor. So am I to assume that it was made in Japan?
That's right. The craftsmanship is unbeatable.
Well, that's strange. I don't see how your so-called crystal could have been made there.
What are you talking about?
It's quite obvious if you take a closer look at this. You'll point out the little motive on the bottom here.
Oh, I just realized there's blood on it. There's blood on the orb. Do you see
What
that?
the fuck?
We get the blood tested.
Oh no.
If we can get the blood tested and... Wait. Oh no, I know whose blood it's gonna be.
It's gonna be the doctor's, right?
No.
Whose?
It's gonna be the former Queen of Kharine's. This is the murder weapon that killed her.
That would be crazy.
This is how we get tied back. This is, I think that's what it's gonna be. This is gonna be the weapon thing that killed the former queen. And I think it's Garan or Inga that killed her. One of those two killed the former queen and then pinned it on Dirk. And like that could be like part of the reason why Dirk gets forced back is because this evidence shows up.
Take a look at the distinctive design here, according to Dr. Buff. It's a Mitama motif dating back to the early days of the Kingdom of Khurine. The Kingdom of Khurine, huh? And you base this on... Here. This piece of evidence, Your Honor. These are the doctor's research notes on the Founder's Orb. This is the box in which the orb was originally stored. It features the same pattern as the one found on the orb. Huh, they do look like the same pattern. Therefore, I assert that the disputed item must have been made in the Kingdom of Khurine. He
My
broke it!
placard!
Objection!
The Kurine channeling technique originated in the kingdom of Kurine. Amife is known to have traveled there to train.
That I agree with.
With that in mind, what's to say she didn't bring that pattern back with her?
Objection!
But since this is clearly a Kurainese design, not even you can deny the possibility that it was made there in the Kingdom of Kurine.
Objection!
Anything's possible to some extent. That doesn't make it true. So you can't conclude that the orb is from Kurine based solely on the pattern. If it were that simple, could just as easily say I could just as easily say it's Japanese.
How did both of us not notice the blood on that photo immediately? You know?
Because we didn't really zoom in on it. Could we just saw the picture of the orb?
But I feel like we've been trained to detect red. We missed it.
Well, also, like, look at this picture. It's kind of harder to notice. It's only when we zoomed in that we could clearly see it.
That's such a weird pattern of red too, though. You know.
Yeah, it's very weird. But also, this couldn't be the murder weapon for Dr. Buff because this was in the cave at the time.
Yeah. Also, my other question is, if he was restoring the artifacts, why didn't he clean the blood? I have to agree with Mr. Wright. The pattern alone proves nothing. But also, that also means there's no basis for claiming the item in dispute was made in Japan either. At this rate, we're going nowhere fast.
Yeah, every claim we make, there's a counter to it that makes it like, well, we don't know which way it could go.
He's right. We're just spinning our wheels here. Let's go, Izzy. I wonder if we have any evidence that could break the stalemate. Evidence that could break the stalemate.
It's like, do we? I don't know if we really have anything though. So, like,
Wouldn't have Maya been able to? That doesn't seem to be anything we could use, at least not at this point.
Yeah, saying there is a bait pass 100% now.
Well, unless we can find something, this trial won't be going anywhere. Yeah, he taped it up.
This guy. Whew, that's much better.
What's his deal?
I have a suggestion. Why don't we consider this from a different angle?
I'm listening.
What if the Defiant Dragons really were authorized to take possession of the relic?
I'm afraid I don't know where you're going with this, Mr. Wright.
Consider the orb transfer agreement, which states, I agree to hand over the Founder's Orb to the Defiant Dragons if I will come to no harm. What if, as the last part suggests, this was written under duress? That would render the agreement null and void. Oh, good grief, Phoenix. I knew.
What are you suggesting, Mr. Wright?
I knew at some point he was gonna pull that out. I knew at some point Phoenix had to pull up like, hey, harm came to him, so you know. While you were on your little cave expedition, I was investigating Dr. Buff's accident. And there was something you overlooked, Mr. Justice. Namely, that his accident might have been a murder. We saw this right away. Like, nope, this is not an accident.
What? Murder? Mr. Wright, do you realize such statements are not to be made lightly? Are you suggesting the doctor was murdered by the Defiant Dragon?
Okay, but Phoenix's logic here makes no sense. Why would the Defiant Dragons kill Dr. Buff if Dr. Buff was going to give them the orb?
Maybe as an additional piece of evidence we don't see.
Yes.
That'd be the only reason.
Yes, but follow me on this for a sec. The books that came tumbling down were from the archaeological shelf. However, among that mountain of books was a single volume on psychology. What's more, there's some blood on it.
And you feel this is important because...
The books that came tumbling down from the top shelf, the archaeological books. We know this because the doctor's books were meticulously organized by subject. Archaeology took up the entire shelf so that the psychology books is completely left out of place. Completely out of place.
Come to think of it, the shelves were arranged quite carefully.
It's also worth noting that psychology books take up a tiny part of the bottom shelf. You might wonder why a book on psychology was found amid the pile of archaeology books. But I believe I can explain that what a single out-of-place book was doing there. The doctor was struck from behind while selecting a psychology book from the shelf.
And that's when the blood got on the book?
Do you try throwing a book like that, Phoenix? You have to pinpoint precision, knock him in the head really hard. Is that even really possible? Precisely. And to make it look like an accident, he was buried under a mountain of archaeology books.
Objection!
Wait a second. This is all just speculation, right? Or do you have proof that it was murder?
Of course I do.
You do?
On a hunch, I had Detective Sky examine the doctor's head wound. She found that he'd been struck by the corner of some object or another.
Wait, what?
A wound like that couldn't have resulted from a fall to the floor, you know. Do you understand what this means, Mr. Justice? The wound makes it crystal clear that Dr. Buff was murdered.
What? Well, that was unexpected. Who would have thought we'd break out of the stalemate like this? He pulled the ladder right out from under us. Still, if he thinks that's enough to make me back down, he's got another thing coming. Even if the cause of death was murder, what makes you think it was the Defiant Dragons? You should know better than to hurl baseless accusations.
Objection!
Did you forget who we are up against, Mr. Justice?
Huh?
You didn't actually think I'd come to court without witnesses and evidence, did you?
Oh, what are you talking about?
I would like to request further testimony from the plaintiff. Specifically, I would like the court to hear how he saw one of the rebels leaving the crime scene.
He saw what? If he can prove it was murder, that's the end of our client's right to the orb. Did he have this up his sleeve the whole time? How could Mr. Wright do this to us? He was just waiting to spring this trap. This trial has taken another unexpected turn. But I must mention, Mr. Wright, that you have yet to identify the murder weapon.
The book, he was claiming it was the book, Judge. The object used to commit the murder was not located at the scene of the crime. The murderer likely disposed of it elsewhere. What if it is the crystal, and the person that Pearl saw was not Dr. Buff? It was someone dressed in
feasible.
Dr. Buff's clothes.
Very feasible. But it'd have to be someone who knew of the hiding place.
Well, clearly Paul knew because he knocked us in there.
Apollo knew.
Well,
What's his
ahead
name
of time,
knew?
Apollo did not know.
Yeah, the dad knew, right? Even though they seem to happen upon it. Politician knew. Well, I never thought we'd be deliberating the issue of a murder at a civil trial. All right, Mr. Attention Whipperson, your testimony, if you please.
Prepare to be dazzled. Dazzled by the charismatic oration forged in the crucible of campaign battles. That evening, I was walking alone, lost in thought. I passed by the doctor's house, and that's when I saw Mr. Arbol. He was running out the front door. It was around 10 that night. Surely must have been him fleeing from the crime scene. A vote for me is a vote to end such violence. That is my promise to you. Okay, but... Okay, I think we need to press him on seeing Arbol. And then we'll end up presenting the diagram 100%.
So the plaintiff saw a possible suspect fleeing from the doctor's residence. And it was within the window of the estimated time of death? That's our ball. What in the world were you doing there, then? Why is there coffee on it, and the coffee's on the other side of the dang hall?
Yeah, that's another thing. It seems Mr. Arbol was loitering about Carine Village that day. There's evidence he was in the doctor's study as well. Isn't that right, Mr. Justice?
Ah. You mean the suitcase?
Exactly. He must have been quite a rush to leave that behind. Oh, and by the way, Your Honor, Mr. Arbol just so happens to be sitting in the gallery today. Ah! See? That's him trying to escape as we speak.
Bailiff, don't let that man get away.
That's stay put. Right, you backstabber! What do you gotta do this to me?
All right, the counsel/defense may question the plaintiff/witness once more. Please proceed, Mr. Justice.